In this English lesson, we will take a look at a news clip from a hurricane that hit the United States just a few days ago. This is the second English lesson I have done on Hurricane Helene. It is one of the biggest hurricanes to ever hit the United States. When I made that English lesson a couple days ago, the death toll, which I talked about, it just means the number of people who have died. The death toll was unfortunately at 150 people. Now, as I record it, it is at 232 people. 232 people have died as a result of this storm, and we will talk about 6 of them today, including the couple in the picture. Unfortunately, they did not make it. That is another way to say they died. This English lesson will be helpful for anyone who is going to take the IELTS or TOEFL exam. When you watch the news in English, they often use more formal language than everyday English speakers. Or maybe you just want to improve your English conversation. Let's take a look at a clip, and then I will come back and teach some English.
We begin with hope fading right now in the ongoing search for survivors in the Southeast as Hurricane Helene's death toll continues to climb.
For each term or idiom or English phrasal verb, I will have a picture, I will have the official definition, and then I will use that term in a sentence. The first one is hope. You will hear native English speakers say this all the time. Sometimes they change it a little bit and say hopefully. Hopefully means things in the future will be good, we hope. Let's look at the official definition. Believing that good things will happen. John Savage, that is the guy whose grandparents passed away. John Savage had hoped that his grandparents were safe before the tree fell. Yes, so sad. A tree fell on their house. They used the verb crushed. It crushed them. Fading. Now in that picture, I have what I think is a very nice image. There is a sunset and light is going to be fading away in a few minutes. What does fading mean, or fading away? Slowly disappearing. As the sun dips towards the horizon, light will start fading. Let's put together our 2 first words and use them in a sentence. Their hope was fading after they saw the tree crash into the house. In an article I read about that elderly couple, Jerry and Marcia, it mentioned they had a grandson. His name is John, and I'm sure that he hoped his grandparents would be okay, but when he got to their house and he could see that a tree had fallen on their house, I'm sure his hope faded of finding them alive.
We begin with hope fading right now in the ongoing search for survivors in the Southeast as Hurricane Helene's death toll continues to climb. Ryan Smith at the live desk with the grim new details tonight.
Grim indeed, Dee Dee. More than 200 people now confirmed dead in the aftermath of Helene. The youngest victims right here, these newborn twins who were found with their mother crushed by a fallen tree out of Thompson, Georgia.
Ongoing. I'm not proud of this picture. I really couldn't find a great picture to help you understand what this word means, but hopefully the definition will help. Still happening. Not finished. The search for survivors is ongoing after the hurricane. And with that picture, I thought we could say that cleanup from the hurricane is ongoing. I will use a sentence about you. I applaud you in your ongoing English learning. You're not going to quit English learning. You are going to continue to learn English. Applaud was a word we use in a previous English lesson. In that sentence, it just means like, I'm saying good things about you. It comes from applause. In the United States, when we think somebody did a good job, we will clap for them, like if they're performing on stage or something. So many of the words that we will use today are sad, but this one is a good one. Survivors. Survivors. People who stay alive after something dangerous. There are many survivors from the hurricane, but some people did not make it. Again, if somebody didn't make it through the hurricane, it's a very nice way to say they died. They used climb in the news story. I wanted to talk about this one because it has a silent B. Climb. It means to go up something. Rescuers had to climb over fallen trees to reach the house. But we could also say the death toll is continuing to climb. The number keeps getting bigger.
We begin with hope fading right now in the ongoing search for survivors in the Southeast as Hurricane Helene's death toll continues to climb. Ryan Smith at the live desk with the grim new details tonight.
Grim indeed, Dee Dee. More than 200 people now confirmed dead in the aftermath of Helene.
Grim. This whole English lesson seems to be a bit grim. It's another way to say very serious or sad. The news about the storm victims was grim. Victims and survivors are not exactly the opposite. Victims could mean people who have died, but it could also mean people who have been hurt. And I tried to pick a very grim picture. You can see there is a lot of damage done to the houses. There isn't a lot of green there. Everything is sort of brown. Even the weather is grim. The sun is not shining. One of the news reporters said, "Indeed."
Grim indeed, Dee Dee.
Indeed is a very formal way to agree with somebody. It just means really, truly. It was indeed a very dangerous storm that caused many deaths. If you want to be very formal and agree with someone, let's pretend you are eating dinner. The friend you are eating with said, "This is a great meal." You can say, "Indeed, it is a great meal." If we were in England, I might say, "That sounds posh. That sounds very fancy." Indeed.
We begin with hope fading right now in the ongoing search for survivors in the Southeast as Hurricane Helene's death toll continues to climb. Ryan Smith at the live desk with the grim new details tonight.
Grim indeed, Dee Dee. More than 200 people now confirmed dead in the aftermath of Helene. The youngest victims right here, these newborn twins who were found with their mother crushed by a fallen tree out of Thompson, Georgia. A tragically similar situation unfolding in Beach Island, South Carolina, where we have learned a tree fell on the home of this elderly couple. Marcia and Jerry Jones were found dead, hugging each other in their bed.
Confirmed. Confirmed means said to be true for sure. You will often hear this term in tragedies when they are talking about deaths. Something like there have been 200 confirmed deaths as a result of the storm. Let's put a sentence on the screen and read that. It was confirmed that 200 people died because of the hurricane. They also use aftermath. Aftermath, the time after something bad happens. Aftermath is never a good thing. In the aftermath of the storm, many homes were destroyed. This is tragic. This is super sad. Newborn. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is a baby that has just been born. They talked about newborn twins. Let's use an example sentence that isn't so grim. The family was relieved to find the newborn baby safe after the hurricane. Twins. What are those? Two babies born at the same time. If they are identical twins, they look exactly like each other. Here's an example sentence using twins. There were twins in one of the families affected by the storm. If you are finding this English lesson useful, do you mind hitting that like button? It helps other people find the English lesson. If this is your first time here or you've never subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson.
Grim indeed, Dee Dee. More than 200 people now confirmed dead in the aftermath of Helene. The youngest victims right here, these newborn twins who were found with their mother crushed by a fallen tree out of Thompson, Georgia. A tragically similar situation unfolding in Beach Island, South Carolina.
Okay, this one was really tough. There are like 4 difficult words all in a row. So I thought, let's just put them all together and talk about them. Tragically similar situation unfolding. That is quite a mouthful. What does it mean? Well, tragically means sad. Similar means almost the same. Situation is just like a thing. And unfolding means it's happening. Let's look at the official definition. Another very sad thing happening in the same way. In a tragically similar situation unfolding nearby, another family lost their home to a fallen tree. And it gets worse. We'll talk about this more at the end of the English lesson, but another hurricane is heading towards the same area, or at least parts of the same area. Just in case you don't know about the geography of the United States, like where these states are located, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, I will put up a picture of where those states are. And below those states is another state, Florida. Florida is known for having a lot of hurricanes. They were hit by this hurricane, Hurricane Helene, and then a little later, we'll talk about another hurricane that is headed their way. Elderly. They called that couple, those 2 people, elderly. What does that mean? Very old, but in a nicer way. The elderly couple, Marcia, that's how you pronounce that name, Marcia. They mispronounced it in the news story. Marcia and Jerry died when the tree fell on their house.
The youngest victims right here, these newborn twins who were found with their mother crushed by a fallen tree out of Thompson, Georgia. A tragically similar situation unfolding in Beach Island, South Carolina, where we have learned a tree fell on the home of this elderly couple. Marcia and Jerry Jones were found dead, hugging each other in their bed. And in a final act of heroism, Jerry rolled over to try to protect his wife. Search and rescue operations still happening tonight in the most remote areas of the storm-ravaged communities.
Heroism. Heroism is the next word. Sometimes I have trouble saying this word, so I often avoid it in my everyday conversations. We've talked about heroes before. Those 2 words are very much related. But heroism, that means brave actions to help others. The firefighters showed heroism by saving people during the storm. We have an English phrasal verb next, and like so many English phrasal verbs, this can be used in a few different ways, but in the news clip, they used it like this. To turn your body from one side to the other. That man is rolling over in bed. Maybe he is trying to get more comfortable. And Jerry rolled his body over to cover his wife in order to protect her. Here is the sentence. Jerry rolled over to protect his wife when he heard the tree snap.
Tragically similar situation unfolding in Beach Island, South Carolina, where we have learned a tree fell on the home of this elderly couple. Marcia and Jerry Jones were found dead, hugging each other in their bed. And in a final act of heroism, Jerry rolled over to try to protect his wife. Search and rescue operations still happening tonight in the most remote areas of the storm-ravaged communities. Survivors now stepping in to pitch in, distributing food and water and working through the day to clear mountains and mountains of debris.
The next one is remote, but they did not use remote like this in the newscast. We'll talk about that next. But you may know this definition of remote, a device used to control the TV from far away. You don't have to get up off the couch to change the channel. I don't know if this is true in your house, but it's true in mine. We always lose the remote control in my house. We often find it in the couch cushions. But in the newscast, they used it differently, like a remote area. That means a place far away from towns or cities. Let's use remote in a sentence. They lived in a remote area where help took a long time to arrive. Ravaged. That means destroyed badly. The hurricane ravaged their town, leaving many homes destroyed. I've used damaged and destroyed in this English lesson. Let's talk about the difference. A damaged house can be repaired. A destroyed house needs to be rebuilt.
Search and rescue operations still happening tonight in the most remote areas of the storm-ravaged communities. Survivors now stepping in to pitch in, distributing food and water and working through the day to clear mountains and mountains of debris.
Another English phrasal verb, two, right in a row actually. Stepped in means helping when someone needs it. Neighbors are stepping in to help families affected by the storm. I mean, you could step in a puddle. That is totally different. You might hear stepping in to help. Speaking of helping, you might hear pitch in. Helping with small tasks. On Saturday mornings at my house, everyone pitches in to help clean the house. We do that so one person doesn't have to do all of the work. Let's use it in a sentence. Everyone in the community pitched in to clean up the damage. I'll say this next one a couple times because it might be hard to pronounce. Distributing. Distributing. Giving out things to people. Volunteers. Maybe we should talk about that word. Those are people who are doing things, but they're not getting paid to do it. They are giving their time. Volunteers often pitch in to help. Volunteers are distributing food and water to people who lost their homes.
Survivors now stepping in to pitch in, distributing food and water and working through the day to clear mountains and mountains of debris.
We know we have pockets of people who are isolated due to landslides and bridges out.
In the news clip, they said pockets of people. That might not make sense if you only know this definition for pockets. Pockets are small spaces in your pants to hold things. Jim put his car keys and phone in his front pockets. The man is pulling out his front pockets to show he has nothing in them. It doesn't look like he has any money. But in the news clip, they said pockets of people. Very different from pockets on your pants. Pockets of people means small groups of people in different places. There are pockets of people in remote areas who still need help after the storm. See what I did there? I used a couple of our terms together. If you watched the last English lesson I did about Hurricane Helene, you met a man named John who was looking for his fiancée, Julie. At the time, we didn't know if she was dead or alive. Unfortunately, a couple days ago, her body was found. She did not make it through the storm. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse for this area, another hurricane. Hurricane Milton. Weather reporters are predicting Hurricane Milton will probably hit Florida in the next couple days. Let's take a look at that sentence and then we'll talk about a couple things. Hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall on Wednesday as a Category 5 hurricane. To make landfall means when the hurricane goes from the water to the land. There are 5 different categories for hurricanes. Hurricanes that are Category 1 means the winds aren't that strong. I mean, it's still a hurricane, so it's a storm, but a hurricane that is Category 1 is not as bad as a hurricane that is Category 5. There is no Category 6. But with Hurricane Helene, the winds weren't the problem. It was the heavy amounts of rain that caused flooding. Yeah, this hurricane looks like it is going to be a doozy, which is another way to say it looks like it's going to be a big problem. If you would like me to do an English lesson about Hurricane Milton after it hits, maybe we could say the aftermath of Hurricane Milton, please let me know in the comments. Super sad stuff there. So many people lost loved ones. Maybe after hearing this story, you will find your loved ones and tell them how much you love them, how much they mean to you. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson. If you're looking for more English, or maybe you've already watched that other video about Hurricane Helene and you just want to review, that's never a bad idea, watching English lessons a couple times. I will leave the link for that one below. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.